Are you a good arguer? Do you win arguments?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you get better at argumentation?
Doing things like reading, writing, I've heard can be helpful.
What I found tremendously helpful is just taking a quote book, read the quote book, and try to argue against the quote. So you read one thing and it's like, okay, they're trying to communicate a point, that's their opinion, that's the conclusion from the opposing counsel or something, right? You read that quote, and then you have to immediately think of a way to counteract that, right? Come up with another example that ends with another quote that contradicts it. And just going through that exercise. And you have to do it very quickly, within a short amount of time, and that kind of trains you to think on the spot.
So in doing that exercise, after thinking about it and coming up with an argument, how often did you end up agreeing with the quote? And how often did you agree with yourself?
Actually, in doing that, I actually end up being, I agree with both, right? Because oftentimes the world is a paradox. You know, in a certain situation, that quote applies. And in another situation, this other quote applies. And there's no way one truth is going to be hold universal throughout, generally speaking.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so whatever quote that somebody comes up with that is very powerful, it definitely makes sense in a certain circumstance, but you're finding out the exception when that does not apply. That this is the same with law, this is the same with relationships, with any like general principle. You want to be flexible, and in doing this exercise, you realize the world is a very complicated place, and there's a lot of gray areas, right? And so anytime somebody comes up with one universal truth, you quickly identify, well, here's where it fails.
Yeah, so interesting.
One of the best teachers is failure.
Yeah.
I mean, I encourage so many people to fail at the firm, right? I encourage people to go experiment and try, you know, try things, fail fast, learn, and do it again. But there's gotta be a better way than just learning from your own failures. One of the best ways I found to shortcut that is by reading biographies and watching documentaries. So many times after I close the last page of a chapter of that book, I feel like I've lived a different life, right?
Yeah.
You just get so immersed into the story of that person's journey and all the failures and all the success, and you understand the struggle and you understand the pain, and you've essentially learned all those lessons yourself without having to experience it yourself. And another way to go about doing that is to actually interview people in your own family. Find out where you're right. Find out your grandmother's story. Right?
Yeah.
That hits much closer to home. What are all the mistakes and dreams and unspeakable history, irredeemable past, you know, the secrets that they hush up. Find out those secrets, and it makes you closer with them.
Yeah.
But you also live their entire life.
I feel like when you like biographies or documentaries or like that'll expose you to maybe problems that you haven't experienced or your family hasn't experienced, or just I guess time, like the time you're living in this is not a problem. But then family is a unique set of things that you probably inherited,
Right.
you know? So like, oh, we have a proclivity to this, or, you know, it could be health, but it could also just be how we tend to handle situations.
Right.
And like, if you can learn what those are when you're young, then at least if you end up kind of doing the same thing, you're fully aware,
Right.
you know? So I think that would be very enlightening about like how I think and how I make decisions, and am I doing what my mom did and what her mom did, and you know, and those dynamics that it'd be great to know.
Yeah. And one powerful question to ask your parents or your family members, or what's your biggest regret? Like, what is your biggest weakness that you wish you could change about yourself and your history, right? What do you feel is your biggest accomplishment, and how were you able to do that? For me, my dad told me that his biggest lesson is that you should not succeed too early. He had an amazing career, and in his 20s he was already thriving, but that somehow derailed him because he thought it was too easy. And so success early on is not a great thing, right? But you can build up the character, and you can build up the hard work, and build up something of true value in your 20s. So he's always telling me, right, don't do stocks, because even if you succeed, it's gonna ruin the rest of your life, right? And you just think it's too easy, and it could be luck.
Right.
And even if you are truly good at stocks and picking stocks and you're a guru, like what is there to brag about, right? But leadership and compassion and insight and creativity, like those are things that you know, there's plenty of people who are rich, but can you be somebody who's truly creative and build something and make something that's truly meaningful? How to manage your time is so important, but the topic is so boring almost. I've read so many books on time management and how to be better, but if people would just think of their energy level, that is such a better way to think of it, because everybody has different energy levels. Somebody's more productive in the morning, somebody's productive at night. There are people who are more creative at night, and there's people who just like to vibe, and they just like to hang out and vibe, but in the vibing, they get some really important things done. If you just kind of manage your energy, your chakra, in the morning and afternoon, and at night, and you know exactly when and how to be productive with the limited energy that you have, that is a better way to think about time. Because everybody has a limited amount of energy, right?
Yeah.
So my method is not gonna work for you. We have different personalities. All these books just doesn't apply to everyone. For me, getting a quick massage, a 15 to 20 minute meal, snacking, watching stand-up, right? These things just replenish me like so fast. Oh, another thing that's really important is find out what you can do when you are on low energy, because everybody gets there.
Oh, yeah.
So what's the most productive, efficient, happy, easy thing that you can do? Because we're gonna get there every single day for the rest of your life.
Right.
So what is that thing that you should always do when you're low energy? For me, it's cleaning. I don't really need a lot of energy, but it continuously rebuilds my energy as I'm cleaning and organizing.
I think right now what I do is I do the easy stuff first. So it's like reading, I play Sudoku, I practice like languages because I want to learn languages, and I do those first because I'm like, there's so many of them and they don't take that long, and I like crossing them off my list.
Nice.
So I try to get, like, my mentality is like get as much done as fast as possible. But honestly, all of that stuff I could put like at the end of the day, and it would be really restful, because it, like, in the morning it's like, oh, I have to do all these things, but at night, like, okay, why don't you just read and like play Sudoku? It would probably, like, for myself, I think it'd be really peaceful, and it doesn't take a lot of energy, and then I could actually do something else that I tend like to not get done when I'm active. So I was just thinking about that, like I need to
try it out, switch
flip-flop those.
Yeah, maybe it works.
So I find it hard for myself, but I also see that it can be tough for other people to actually talk about money, and not like academically or anything, or like, let's talk about stocks, the stock market, but in a very, like, my personal finances. Like, it's normally people find it either like taboo, like it's rude to discuss your finances or say what you're making or say what you're spending. People either find that rude or they're just embarrassing. Would it ever be okay to talk about your money with other people? And if so, how can we do that?
I think I'm really lucky growing up in a family that's really open about talking about money. Growing up, money is always a subject to talk about, but it was never talked about in a way where there was judgment. So when you're talking with friends about money, about their finances, there's no judgment on, you know, oh, because you make so little, you can't afford that. But it's like, okay, you want that? Let's talk about how to achieve that. Well, what are the resources that you have? It's almost like a board game. What are the pieces? What are the ways to organize it, right? If you are a lot wealthier than they are, but they might be 10 times smarter than you. Talking about money, it just needs to be treated like it's a case, it's a subject matter. It's just like any other thing that we talk about. How do you cook better? Which spices do you use? What's your technique? Do you sous vide it first, or do you do a flame broil at the end? Like, what's your secret, right? It's okay to talk about money, and it should be encouraged and it should be fun. But if you are awkward about it, then everybody else is awkward about it.
Yeah, true.
And so I think if you can surround yourself with a community and the people that can share more freely, I think it's okay. that's it. Thank you for watching. That's season 4, episode 1. You are reviving? This is good?
We are.
We're reviving.
We are.
Yeah. Can't wait to see you again. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.